Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. It's morning for me here in the UK. It's actually afternoon. I think 5:30 with you, where you are in Australia. Our guest, I'm delighted to welcome Sheila Kennedy, who's joining us today for Connecting with Dragons. Now, Sheila and I have had we've worked together with the Dragons. Story she told me, and I got involved, and so did a group of other people I was with at the time. And so we're looking forward to sharing some of our stories. And folks, if you've got questions for us, whether you're watching us live, whether you're watching this on the replay on YouTube, if you've got questions, please post them, email them to us, or post them under the YouTube video if that's where you're watching. Questions for us. We're happy to answer, but I hope we'll be able to answer a lot of that in the program today. But first and foremost, let me introduce Sheila Kennedy to you. Sheila Kennedy is a holistic health and energy wellness facilitator, offering unique solutions to everyday issues, drawing on more than 40 years of research and clinical practice to assist you to make changes in your life. Whether you are looking for an answer to your anxiety or depression, have specific health issues or learning difficulties, or simply know that there is more available if only you could find it, Sheila may be the key. Her own ill health and looking for answers to assist her children started Sheila on a journey of discovery, of wanting to create solutions as well. A spiritual and metaphysical facilitator and vibrational kinesiologist, Sheila is able to assist you to identify your issues and to heal yourself quickly. Many people credit Sheila Kennedy's programs with their return to health and well-being and of shining a light for a brighter future for their children. So Sheila does all this, and she's connected with dragons. So brilliant. Sheila, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us today. And please, you share a little of your own story so that we can hear from you.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. It's wonderful to be here with you. And you make me sound really good. Sometimes I think, wow, is that actually me? Because I didn't write my bio, someone else did. I live in Australia, as you said, in Queensland, in the Sunshine State, but I was actually born in the UK. And coming from quite a diverse background of Scots, Irish, Welsh, Manx with some Romany thrown in, I was this very small child who talked to spirits, basically, animal spirits, deceased spirits, earth spirits, all sorts of things that my grandmother on my father's side was very comfortable with and encouraged me to do, but my mother and father were not. So I was always sort of seen as being odd or different, and the black sheep of the family as I grew up, and the rest of the family are nurses and pretty much, and I'm that woman who does all the other stuff. But all that other stuff is why I'm here. It's why I'm still alive. And it's stood me in amazing stead for more than over 60 years of being able to communicate with what's around me and to be aware of what's around me, and also to have that awareness of when something isn't quite right or something wants to connect or communicate with me. And sometimes I think we all have an issue of we're not always listening. Quite often there's messages and there's signs, and we just actually brush them away. We're busy, we lead busy lives, and there's so much out there. But in being able to have that connection, and the connection with you in the last just over a year or so, actually connecting with my dragons, and the dragon that I connected with you with in the first place has been amazing, because it was opened a whole new sphere of connection, if you like, and communication with the beings that are around. So quite an incredible journey. So thank you for introducing me and to all of that, and being that support when I didn't know what I was doing. So yes, it's been amazing.
and thank you for that. But do you know what, folks? And Andrew, hello, Andrew's in New Zealand, and yes, I know that Andrew, they're 13 hours ahead of me here in the UK. But connecting with all of our friends, and I refer to them friends in the mythical realm, because they all are. You can read the myths, the legends, and depending on where you are in the world, the dragons, myths, and legends are very different. You know, from the West being pretty evil to the whereas obviously the East, you know, dragons, amazing energies. The Chinese, they love the dragons. They have no fear of the dragons, and the dragon energy is really positive. And to me, the energies of many friends in the mythical realm have been so totally distorted, almost as in a way to create fear. Now, what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind, because obviously we want to help people to realize we can connect with our dragons, and they are amazing energies and beings to have in our lives. What I'd love you to do is share the beginning of the story that you started telling me, which is how I then got involved, and we got so much deeper involved in the dragons. Because this, folks, by sharing our stories with the dragons and our feeling of the energies, because it's about feeling the energies if you don't see it, is hopefully you'll start to awaken to the energies that surround you. If we share our stories of the dragons, and if you've got questions for us, as I said, please ask. So Sheila, please start sharing what you felt, what you were feeling, what you told me about this particular dragon.
I moved to where I'm living now about 16 months ago. So I moved from the bottom end of Australia on the east coast to just over the border in Queensland, which is basically subtropical, and I live on a mountain called Springbrook Mountain on a plateau, which is part of a very ancient volcanic rim. So it's been quite a big volcano, and the volcanic rim spreads for quite a number of kilometres or miles, depending where you are in the world. So I came to live here, and my landlord said at the time, don't sign a lease, or do not sign a lease until you're sure that you can actually live on the mountain, because a lot of people can't. There's something about the energy that affects some people. So it was like I've worked with energy for most of my life, lived on mountains in other places, and it's never been a problem. So it was a little bit of a settling in period, because I'm 50 metres from the rainforest and 200 metres from the top of the tallest waterfall. So I don't particularly like heights, and even though I'm a Pisces, I don't particularly like water. So it was an odd place for me to come and be guided to come and live, because it wasn't somewhere I would have chosen to be. But I went to visit a mutual colleague, friend, who's also a health practitioner, and who also lives on another part of the volcanic rim. And I remember commenting to her as I drove up the road to her house that the energy was quite different. It was quite odd feeling from my perspective. And then I was very aware, coming back to my part of the volcanic rim, that the energy was sort of similar but different. And because it was like a new area, I'm still getting used to what's around, the energies that are around, and the spirits and things that are in the rainforest as well, and obviously very, very ancient area. So eventually there were a number of conversations with my colleague here in Australia, and a wonderful young shaman, or shaman, depending on how you pronounce it, in Hawaii. And we were talking about this energy that appeared to be under the ground. And I have a cat, and I had last year a little dog who was very, very connected. They both are with energies. And I noticed that the cat and the dog were quite not disturbed, but very conscious and very aware that there was something going on. And my explanation, talking to my two colleagues one day, was it was almost like a cat's tail swishing under the ground, the movement of something. And because it appeared to be very long, I thought it might be a snake. Australia, we have the rainbow serpent, the Aboriginal mythology and so on. And because, we're in very ancient areas, you sort of think, well, what might it be or what could it be? And then in conversation with the three of us, and because whether we call it channeling or connecting or whatever it might be, I've been able to do that, as we all can, I believe, all of my life, and started communicating with a dragon, which was a little bit different. I'd been aware of water dragons in Australia that they look like little prehistoric beings, but they're only about 18 inches, 2 feet tall. This one appeared to be extremely large. And the dragon obviously was very, very upset. There was a lot of grief in communicating with the dragon. And what came through basically was that the dragon was dying. And it had these 3 little babies that it was frightened about leaving. It didn't want to leave on its own. So basically the 3 of us became foster parents for these 3 little dragons. Now, what do you do when you're a foster parent for a dragon? I got no idea at that stage. It was just like, okay, well, we've got Mother Dragon who's saying, look, it's time for me to go and I'm not happy about it, but, I'll feel better knowing that someone's taking care of these babies. So the 3 of us had a number of conversations backwards and forwards, and it was just a really interesting time. And around that time, my little dog, who passed away last year, was just on 15. He started grieving, was the only thing I could put it down to. He would start almost whimpering in his sleep, and then he'd be sitting up, and he was a Maltese Shih Tzu. So you can imagine a Maltese Shih Tzu sitting up and howling at the ceiling as if he was a wolf for sometimes an hour at a time. And nothing would settle him down, picking him up, holding him. It was this whole grief process. And it was only later realizing in communicating with yourself, Sarah Jane, and talking about the dragon energy, that he was actually grieving the dragon passing. And because I muscle test on my fingers, basic kinesiology, that was the answer that came up so strong, because I couldn't find anything else when I kept asking. So it was, if you ask better questions, you get better answers, of course. And it's interesting that after the dragon had passed, and the little dragons were quite, because your group in the UK that you connected with did a lot of work in easing that process for the mother dragon, which was fantastic because we didn't have any ideas. It wasn't that much longer after that Jack passed as well. So it was almost like he'd guided me here, because a lot of my guidance with him over the years was him taking on things or pointing me in different directions, because I was never going to have this small dog that came to live in my life. It was one of those preordained things, I think. I'd known his parents and know I'd said no every letter, and then all of a sudden I've got this puppy. And Andrew, who's actually connected in, Andrew met Jack, I think, when he visited me last year, because Andrew's been living in Australia and back in New Zealand. And so Andrew knows where I live on the mountain and what the energies are like. So it's been a whole process of, with the connection with yourself, Sarah Jane, learning more about the dragons, having a better understanding of the dragons, and actually connecting with my own dragons, which has been amazing. And as I was just saying to you before we came on air, I'm in the process of packing to move. And I commented to a friend today that the wing and the prayer, because I have no idea where I'm going to live, I'm just moving. But I could see myself flying on an iridescent green dragon. So the wings were definitely dragon wings.
Absolutely. In respect of the story, what happened here in the UK was Sheila had told me about the mother dragon, that she was trapped. And so I was actually due to give a talk at a group about dragons. And what I asked them to do, but I also work with sound energy, I work with toning, I work with voice. During that talk, what I actually asked them to do, and I told them about Sheila's dragon, the mountain dragon, and I asked them if they would work with me to offer energy to this dragon, for her to use the energy as was totally right for her. There was no, I was aware that there were 3 little ones. There was no attachment to the outcome. It had to be what it had to be. And everybody agreed, everybody really wanted to be a part of this. And so we worked with the sound energy and holding energy, because some didn't want to work with sound, but some still work with Reiki and are happy to hold energy. And so we worked and we offered energy to this dragon. And one of the ladies, after we'd finished, said, she's passed. She's let go. What we did supported her to let go. So I then had, I can't remember whether it was emails or conversations with Sheila about what had happened from our perspective, and obviously then Sheila came back with what had been going on their end as well. We started talking about your dragon, because folks, everybody has their own guardian dragon. You have your own guardian dragon. You can connect with your dragon, and we'll come to that bit in a minute. But Sheila has connected with her own guardian dragon, and you were saying you weren't too sure quite how you were going to work with these little ones. And so I just made the suggestion, and I'm going to ask you to tell people what your dragon's reaction was to this, because I thought it was so amusing. But I suggested that you could ask your guardian dragon to support the youngsters, because it was really important. As much as the mother had put her babies into your care, she knew that you would know what to do. And of course that then I think came with the suggestion I brought in, which is, please ask your dragon, your guardian dragon, to take care of the little ones, because it's really important that the little ones are brought up with other dragons. And of course, I don't know whether you remember the response of your dragon. I know I do. But you'd share what your dragon's response was.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, Sarah Jane. It seems like it's ages ago, and I know periodically I check in. It's not on a daily basis, because there's a great deal of difference in monitoring a little dragon than there is monitoring a human child, for example. And the time frames obviously are much, much different with mythical beings and so on. So I've taken an observer stance, if you like. And we were saying before about, we can't be everywhere and be everything to everybody. But having that carte blanche, if you like, whatever's needed from me at the time is available and given with love. And that to me was the best way that I could deal with what I'd taken on of being responsible for one of these little dragons, knowing that the other 2 people who were involved would do what they were meant to do as well. So I feel my guardian dragon, I always think of it, the female side, the left side, having like a wing over the little one, so the little one's sheltered underneath it, but still able to access all the things around it without being, restricted or confined in any way, and that it has that guidance from my own personal dragon. As I said, I see it as very dark green and iridescent, which is interesting because, as I said, I'm driving off in a dark green car. So, people say fly with angels. Well, I'm going to fly with dragons and angels. So, but no matter where I am, I still feel that connection to the little dragon. And where I live, as I said, here on the mountain, there are a lot of caverns, from what I understand, in a lot of this whole volcanic rim. Mount Warning, which is actually in New South Wales. There are a lot of lava tubes under Mount Warning and things like that. So it's, you know, the idea of something being trapped, as this mother dragon appeared to be, is quite common, I think, for mythical beings who existed on Earth so long ago, and we now see as mythical because they're not right in front of us walking down the street, but it doesn't mean that they're not still there. And that whole volcano, being on the rim of a volcano, Andrew, and I've talked about volcanoes quite a lot over the years, so there's a lot of interesting energies around or connected to volcanoes as well. And I think if we think volcanoes, and you know, most people would think of the fire-breathing dragon, wouldn't they? Although I know that they don't all breathe fire either. So, and that was something I found really interesting in working with you, that not only do we have our personal dragon, but there are all the other dragons as well.
Oh, there are so many dragons. In fact, before connecting with Sheila and the information that obviously we work together with the dragons, and I know I've been connecting with dragons for a while because I found, one, they told me everybody has got a guardian dragon. Two, I then realized I was going to be doing something, I was going to be writing something with reference to crystals, and then I realized I was working with the dragons that guard over the Earth's crystals, and they've all given me messages. They've actually all given me their names, but I'll come to that, back to that in a minute. Somebody that is, again, UK, born in the UK but lives in New Zealand now, Kadir, and he plays the didgeridoo. Amazing energies, and as I said, he was brought up in the UK, and one of his favourite places is Dartmoor down in Devon. Now, I grew up in Torquay in Devon, and my favourite place to be was Dartmoor. So we have a joint love there. And every time he comes back to the UK, he tries to get up to Dartmoor. Well, he's written a piece of music using the didgeridoo that is called Dartmoor Portal. Now, I was unaware at that stage there are portals on Dartmoor, but there are. And he was playing this piece of music at I'm not going to call it a concert, but I was at an event that he was running. He's playing this piece of music. And I found myself standing on a rock called Haytor, and it's one I climbed many, many times as a child. And I found myself standing on this rock, and suddenly there was a whole load of, it's like little lights, but what I realized was they were souls. They were trapped souls that were suddenly just being released. And that in itself was amazing. And then suddenly out of the earth came bursting a huge dragon, and it was the earth dragon of Dartmoor, and she'd been trapped. And that was just like, okay, fine, amazing to be witness of. And at the end of the whole thing, I saw Seeker at the end, and I told him this. That very night, I woke up in the early hours, and I became aware that at the back of Haytor, there's an old granite quarry where they actually mine the granite for London Bridge. And I was stood on the top of the quarry, looking down into it, and there's a small lake in the bottom of the quarry. And again, I've walked there many, many times as a child and as an adult. Very familiar place to me, and you can't literally stand on the edge of the quarry for safety purposes, that's been fenced off. And I found myself standing on the edge of this quarry, and literally out of the waters came bursting the water dragon of Dartmoor. Again, I was witnessing the freeing of the dragon that had been trapped, which was amazing. And I got the sense at the same time that the air dragon was going to be freed during the next 24 hours. I wasn't going to witness it, I was just being told. Because this was in August was it 2014 or was it 13? I don't know, I'm losing track of time, doesn't really matter. And there was the tail end of a massive storm that had hit the States that was literally going to be hitting Dartmoor later that day. And I knew that with that storm hitting Dartmoor, the air dragon was going to be released. And to which my mental thing came in, oh, what about the fire dragon? To which I got the immediate answer in my head, we all represent fire. It was just like, okay, fine. Because don't get me wrong, folks, my immediate reaction was the human aspect of me definitely came in. Okay, so there's the earth, there's the water, and there's the air. So what about the fire dragon? Because I'm expecting the 4 elements. And I was just told, no, we all represent fire. So I hear what you're saying. They don't all necessarily breathe fire, but they do represent it. So that was an amazing gift. I felt whether I actually was part of it, whether I was just witness to it, it doesn't matter to me. It was just an amazing gift to know. And that helped me realize when you started talking about your dragon, I knew she was trapped. The energies of that. And some of the dragons can be freed. Some it's just a matter of supporting to let go. And I remember to me, your dragon's reaction when asked to support the youngsters, and I'm not saying you 3 aren't involved with the youngsters anymore at all, was the fact that, and I got the feeling but don't get, that it depends on where we are in our lives as to whether we're picking up the masculine or feminine energies of dragons. Because don't forget, we have the yin and the yang within us. We all have that balance of the masculine and feminine. As do the dragons, and the energies you pick up at any given time are the right energies. But I very much got the sense from you that you were picking up the masculine energies of your dragon, of an older, very mature dragon, whose reaction was, I'm not here to look after kids, but who then supported the dragons to be taken to sort of like a dragon type creche, sort of where the dragons were going to be totally taken care of. And that doesn't mean that your dragon, the feminine energies of your dragon, that the others people's dragons, doesn't mean you aren't aware of the youngsters and their growth. And as you said, our time and their time is, time doesn't exist in that way, but we can connect with dragons. And it's so important that we do connect with the energies of many of the mythical friends. And it's great that you're connected with your dragon. I don't know whether can you remember when you first became aware of your dragon's energies?
I think it was around the time of actually talking to you, because there was so much that was different, if you like, Sarah Jane, than anything I'd done before. And because I'm very open to whatever comes, sometimes too open probably, but it's like, okay, well, someone wants to talk to me, and quite often I get this sort of tapping on the top of my head, you're not listening, or, someone's trying to communicate. That when the dragon started communicating, it was like, well, finally you're listening. We've been around you for so long, and you've had this awareness, like on the periphery of your vision, but you've never actually acknowledged us as such. And I was saying to you before we came on air, I loved the Avatar movie, not just the blue people and everything it stood for, but I loved the dragons. And I loved the fact that the dragons were wild, that they weren't taming them, they were actually connecting and communicating and becoming one with the dragon. And that's what I felt very much when my connection with the dragon, it started off very subtly and then became stronger as it went on. So I quite often feel as I'm driving down the mountain where I live, because it's a lot of 30-kilometre bends, that it's almost like I'm driving down the back of the dragon, you know, that if the dragon's curved and the bumps and the tail and things like that. So that kind of makes sense for me as well. And when I was having this mental conversation with my dragon the other day and said, you know, look, my time here, you know, I'm being told it's time to move on. I actually wasn't intending moving back to the other end of Australia. I was thinking moving down off the mountain, but that's not the way things have panned out. And because I go where I'm meant to go, the dragon had been with me, I'm very sure, when I was in Victoria for 3 weeks last month, and it was like, where I think I will probably end up is the start of some hills. So it's not like I'm going to go and live down on the coast. It's still a reasonably hilly area, and it's not far from where I lived in the hills before. So it's interesting. It's not quite a full cycle of going back to the same place, but just a few kilometres away. And again, when I think about the dragon and it's sleeping, where it curls and it puts its tail around over its face, sort of in my imagination, it's almost like it's taking me that full circle back again. So we've gone from the head of the dragon to the tail, or the tail to the head, it doesn't really matter. But the dragon and that cyclic energy around it is what's moving me onwards. So quite interesting, actually. So yes.
Absolutely. And folks, you can connect with your own dragon. For those of you that haven't as yet, are not aware as yet, I have actually done a meditation that is on YouTube. You can go to that, and hopefully I'm about to hit the enter button and I've just put the link to that up. For those of you that are here live, if you would like to do that. For those of you that are watching the replay or the YouTube video, I will stick the link to that under the video, so that you can actually see, go and watch the video, participate in that meditation. What I will say to people is, the dragons don't wish to scare us. And especially for those of us that have been brought up with the Western view of dragons, please, if your dragon doesn't show themselves immediately, just be aware of feeling their energies. Some people see, some people hear, some people don't. I'm one of those. It's very much an awareness with me. I was aware of the dragons being freed. I wouldn't say I saw it. Maybe it's the need to open up the third eye, I don't know, but I trust that intuition, that sense of knowing that I get. And I would do the same with your dragons. Some of you may never see your dragon. I just know mine is a clear crystal quartz dragon. She's huge. And I was really confused in the meditation that I did that introduced me to mine, because I got a feeling that she was actually all the colours of the rainbow. Then it made huge sense that I was seeing all the colours of the rainbow. She was a clear quartz and the sun was shining through her. She loves to sit with her head on my shoulder, and I'm very happy that she does that. She also has a little one called Charlie, and her name is Phoebe. But trust, your dragon may, as I said, may not show themselves immediately. They don't wish to scare you. Be prepared to go back more than once or twice or 3 times. I have one guy who's contacted me having done the meditation. He's absolutely delighted. He plays the flute, and after each time he's done the meditation, he's found himself picking up the flute, and he's found music coming out of the flute. And it's just music. And I asked him to record it and put a video up on YouTube of it so that I could listen to it. And it was amazing. It had such a medieval sound to it. But again, they're bringing in sound energies. And do you know, literally while I'm saying this, there's something to do with dragons and sound energy. I know the angels have their choirs and everything. The energies that are being brought to us. Sheila, are you picking up anything? Dragon's sound? Because suddenly there's something, I don't know, and I can't put my finger on it.
Well, as you know, I make sound programs with the Tibetan bells. And years ago, I used to write the words for the programs. The last few years, whether it's the fact that I've been doing this for such a long time, but I write down some words of what I want in the program, and then it's gifted or downloaded, channeled, if you like, to me. But as you were just talking then about the gentleman and the flute, I thought it would be interesting to see if I can get the dragons to connect and make some dragon sounds. That could be quite different, couldn't it?
Yeah. And I think folks, be open to think, because I'm really not sure, because I know I'm connected with the dragons that guard over the Earth's crystals, and as I said, they've given me their names, and folks, these are not English names. They really aren't. Sheila, do you want to give me the, I know it's only 66 of them, but maybe if you give me the name of a crystal, and I'll see whether, if it's on my list, I'll give you the dragon's name.
Okay. Well, as I said, the feeling earlier was that the dragon that I was going flying with was very much a jade green. So,
right. Okay. The jade is. I do wish I could pronounce these. Bless my God. Bless them. Lipoti, which is Lipoti. Now, Lipoti to me is masculine. This is very much, don't get me wrong, folks, yeah, the masculine and the feminine, because Dragon Heart, when Dragon Heart gave me his name, the first I picked up was Ixa. I picked up the feminine, the ending in A, which is IIXA. But then I suddenly realized it could be reversed for the masculine to Axi. AXII. So Dragon Heart is Ixa or Axi, depending on whether you're drawn more to the feminine or the masculine energies. You said about jade green, but I was also thinking about emerald, and that's Owie. OWII. Again, another masculine. I'm not saying all the greens are masculine. Maybe they are. I'm just trying to think what other green.
malachite?
Malachite. Yes. Another masculine energy. Kuitani. KOOITANII. So, folks, actually, do you know what? I know I don't normally make a habit of giving this away, but I actually have set up, and I know you can't see that really clearly, but I have actually got this on an A4 PDF. Anybody would like the dragons' names, feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to send that to you. Send the email to me at giftofhealingtv, giftofhealingtv@gmail.com. I'm thinking about it, sorry. Because and put dragons names, and I'll send you off the PDF.
That sounds great.
With the 66 names that I've got. They've also given me loads of information that I can actually create your true birth crystal chart. I was born in April, but my true birth, when everybody would say, no, your birth crystal's diamond. My birth crystal is not diamond. My true birth crystal is amber. From the information they've given me, I can actually create your true birth crystal chart. And what's so amusing, I should have registered. I should have known that my main birth crystal was amber, because the very first dragon to give me her name was Dendra, the dragon that guards over Amber. So I should have known, but so folks, and also I have a website, Our Magical Friend. Yes, ourmagicalfriends.com. Every month I get a message from different mythical beings, and I also share, I'm also write for 2 magazines, and I share messages from the dragons, from the crystals dragons, and I then, the month after they've been in the magazine, I put them up onto the Our Magical Friends website. If you really like those messages, if you want to receive them on a regular basis, I send the PDFs out once a month for the brand new mythical message and for the previous 2 or 1 or 2 dragons. And folks, Sheila and I had a conversation before. Sheila told you about her water dragons. She sent me a piece. Again, at long last, I've got the permission. She sent me the piece. I sent her back a draft of what I would put up on the website. I am going to do that. Sheila, do I have your permission to send people a PDF of that, or would you rather I didn't?
Yes, absolutely. No, please share.
So folks, if you want to receive PDFs of the messages, just I send out once a month the email. I don't send out any more than that, and I just send you PDFs. I'm not trying to sell you anything. That website is not about trying to sell you anything at all. If you want more information about the birth charts, that's on my main website, thespiritoflove.com. I'll make sure all the information, Sheila's website address, mine, every information I've talked about here is all under the YouTube video for you folks. And please feel free to contact myself and Sheila if you've got any questions. Sheila, any last little, whether you're feeling you're being guided by the dragons, your dragon, any dragons, anything like, just finally, because we're coming to the close of the program, but obviously anything you'd like to share about dragons or they want to share before we close.
Well, it's been really interesting, Sara Jane, because my guidance has always been someone I call Michael, which we could relate to Archangel Michael all of my life, and very, very much so. But I've felt in the last just over a year since connecting with my own dragon, my guardian dragon, that it's like I've got more than one lot of guidance. And I'm sure because I know my dragon's quite old, as in ancient, probably would describe it better. But it's like, well, of course, you know, I've got good guidance. I've been around for a long time. You just weren't listening. So I feel very supported on all fronts, if that makes sense. Not that one's masculine and one's feminine, that there just is this circle, for want of a better word, of energy around me that overlaps and blends and says, you are okay and we have got your back, and you know, you can go with this guidance. And it's just a really beautiful feeling, actually. As I said, I had this Michael connection for 63 years, so that I know of. That's always been really, really strong. And Michael sometimes doesn't pull punches either. He can be quite upfront and say, you know, get over yourself or move on, etc., etc. And again, as you were saying, Sara Jane, not everyone hears or sees or feels. Everyone does it differently. Blessing or curse, I got all of it. It's not always a fun thing to have. But whatever your way of connecting with your guidance is, and especially with your guardian dragon, whether that's holding a pen or hearing a word or just listening, is all fantastic. So, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. I love the energies of the dragons. I know, you know, it's connecting with, and we connect differently. I have to sit with pen and paper when the mythical friends, when the dragons, when I'm being brought guidance in any way that I've got to share with others, I have to sit with pen and paper. I'm not allowed to sit at the computer because they make me then type it up afterwards. But do you know what? I love that because I have my books now filled with the messages. And I've been receiving messages from the mythical realm since the tail end of 2009. So folks, trust the energies, trust your feeling. If you have to sit with pen and paper, if you have to sit out in nature, just go with it. But it's great for me, and you may be one of these people who can have one of these little handheld record things, or you can probably do it with your mobile phone these days, I don't know. I'm not that much into technology, but whatever, so you can record it. Maybe you've got to do it that way. Find the way that you can receive the messages, the energies, the guidance for yourself. And I'm going to shift this slightly. Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. He had to sit with pen and paper. He had to write the question, and then he found himself writing the answers. I suppose in the own way, it's like I just say to the dragons or the mythical friends, okay, what message? And I have to sit with it. I just say, what message? And it comes. Be open to the quiet times to receive. When you're being busy, when your mind's elsewhere, you can't connect. And I'm sure being on the mountains, you'd agree with that. The stillness, the attaching to nature, the allowing yourself to open.
It's been really interesting, Sara Jane, probably not quite a mythical friend, a very feathered friend, but we have these quite large black and white birds called magpies, and was a mum and 3 babies, so I'd been putting food out for them, and she'd started flying in the kitchen door, leaving worms on the floor for me. I'm very blessed. Taken care of.
Oh, bless. So folks, and truly, I really believe that the mythical realm is very much that connection to nature. All the being, and I'm assuming you're getting the same feeling, Sheila.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. So connect with nature, and when you connect with nature, you'll connect with your dragons and with many, many. And there isn't a single being in the mythical realm who is not a friend. They are all friends, regardless of what people may say, what legends and myths may tell. Every single one of them is a friend. But we're not here to talk about any of the others but dragons. Sheila, we are going to be sharing your website. Folks, please connect with myself or Sheila. And it is definitely time for me to stop, because otherwise I'm going to have a coughing fit. Sheila, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Always, Sara Jane. Thank you.
Folks, thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching the programme, for joining us, those of you that have, those who watch it later on YouTube. We've got another programme actually later today, 7 o'clock this evening, here in the UK. Sheila Maria TV, and that's about living your life with the angels. Tonight, Archangel Gabriel. Please watch the website, giftofhealingtv.com, for all the other programmes that we've got coming up in the near future as well. Have a wonderful day for those of you that it's early morning. Have a lovely evening for you, Sheila, and for those of you in the Antipodes. Love, peace and light to you all. Thank you for being with us. Namaste.